Hey, what's up? This is Brandon Simmons for BrandonSimmons.biz, and this is my weekly column Black Quarterback. And I'm just coming through right now to give y'all my picks for this upcoming Super Bowl. So, we finally made it. Super Bowl 58. Got the San Francisco 49ers taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. And so, this game is going to be just as hyped on the field as it is being hyped up on paper. So, let me just get right into what we got to get right into. So, one corner, if you will. On one side, we got the Kansas City Chiefs. They're coming into this game, and they've had an interesting season compared to previous years. Their offense, the narrative has been their offense has been down, including quarterback Patrick Mahomes. He's taken a dip in his production, and part of the reason is they're a couple seasons removed from losing wide receiver Tyreek Hill. They're just one season removed from losing offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy. So with that happening to them, they've had to find different ways to win games, whether it's through the defense or whether it's through their running game with Isaiah Pacheco. However, this postseason, completely different story. They've been amazing this postseason. Yeah, they found ways to win during the regular season, but they've also found ways to win in the postseason, sometimes in more ways than one within the same game. So they had a dominant win over the Miami Dolphins in the wild card. They had a tough little game against the Buffalo Bills, which was Patrick Mahomes' first ever road playoff game. But they performed pretty solid. You know what I'm saying, against that team in a hostile environment. And I'm not going to say they dominated the Baltimore Ravens, but you know what I'm saying, they've kind of won in almost convincingly fashion. You know what I'm saying, on the road in Baltimore Stadium. So they've had some pretty tough and impressive wins this postseason. San Francisco 49ers, different regular season story, same postseason story. Regular season, they showed that they were a completely almost dominant team, rushed right up to the number one seed in the NFC, complete on both sides of the ball, both offense and defense, contains playmakers on those sides of the ball. The postseason, it's been a little rocky but impressive. Rocky in the fact that they fell behind early in both of their games, but they were able to make comebacks, including a huge comeback against the Detroit Lions in last week's not last week, but in the NFC Championship game. Um, Brock Purdy, look, he's had this a lot of conversations been around him being a game manager or whatever, and I'm not here to break that definition down at all because it's a whole other conversation to be had. But what I can say is, in these last two playoff games, he has been kind of shedding away that label for him. He's led a game-winning drive against the Green Bay Packers in that divisional round win, and then he also, was leading the comeback win against the Detroit Lions in the NFC Championship. So I mean, if you still have people still might have their reserves about him, and everybody's entitled to their opinion about him being a game manager. That's fine. But me personally, I feel like he's shedding away that title. Now, with that being said, um, there's some things that I like about these teams, and there's some things that I don't, to be honest with you. So for the Chiefs, um, in this postseason, that defense took a little bit of a tumble against the Buffalo Bills. They gave up 182 yards rushing, and what I'm saying, they lost the time of possession. So to me, that could be their weakness right there, especially. And that's a weakness to kind of look out for, especially when you're going against a a running back and Christian McCaffrey. You know what I'm saying? He'll slice you up for real, for real. So definitely that's something that was kind of concerning for me. Um, for the San Francisco 49ers, they had some great comeback wins in these games. However, the fact that they had they had comebacks, but that means that they had early deficits in these games as well. And so yeah, you can probably get away with that with the teams that they played because of their inexperience, but That's going to be tough to do against the Kansas City Chiefs team that's, been to these conference championships, been to these Super Bowls in recent years. Now, what I will say about this team, about both teams, is that their stars have shown up. Kansas City, Mahomes, despite his down regular season, I would say he's had a great postseason run. 4 touchdowns, 0 picks in all 3 games so far. For the 49ers, McCaffrey has been, quote unquote, the star, which is crazy to say because they have a whole bunch of stars. They have a whole bunch of playmakers everywhere, but he's been the one that's been kind of impressive. Both playoff games that they've had, 188 yards and 4 touchdowns, including the game-winning touchdown against the Green Bay Packers. Now, what I think is going to be a key matchup to watch for both of these teams is going to be their defenses. So we rave a lot about their offenses. Obviously, Chiefs, they have Mahomes over there. The 49ers, they have, Ayuk, Debo Samuel, George Kittle, Trent Williams on the O line, and Brock Purdy, you know what I'm saying, and Christian McCaffrey, so they have their star power as well. But defensively, both these teams are solid. And for me, that takes a lot for me to say about the Kansas City Chiefs. Because anybody that knows me or seen any of my previous work, they know I have not been big on the Kansas City Chiefs at all. Like, I always thought their defense was, kind of a liability at times, but for the most part, I would say this defense has been solid, like for all year. You know what I'm saying? Um, right? They finished the year second in the league in sacks and quarterback hits, so they get into the quarterback. You know what I'm saying? And you can probably credit Chris Jones for that defensive tackle. Chris Jones, pretty versatile guy. He can play inside. He can also be seen sometimes playing on the edge. So they're getting to the QB. They're getting them down. Second in points allowed. So I think this particular stat that they have is going to be very important. This year, the Chiefs kind of took a dip in points. You know what I'm saying? Due to the losses that they've suffered on offense for the past couple years, and then them just trying to figure it out with new personnel, new coaching staff, and all that stuff. So they probably took a dip in their points, and you know what I'm saying, their defense has stepped it up and holding teams down, uh holding teams back from, what I'm saying, getting on the scoreboard. So it's, to me, that's important because that's their equalizer right there. Next up, they have a fourth ranked pass defense. um they got Ladarius Sneed over there. You know what I'm saying? Just a pretty great secondary. And you know what I'm saying, that's really kind of holding things down. As far as like passing touchdowns, they're also fourth in the league in preventing passing touchdowns. So that secondary is kind of underrated, kind of under the radar, but overall it completes the defense. That's gonna make plays, regardless of who's lining up across from them. For the San Francisco 49ers, we all know their defense. We all know the playmakers they have. The stats for them, they're third in rushing defense. They're third in points allowed, so right behind the Chiefs in that. But one main important thing to note is that they lead the league in interceptions. So there's some ball hawks over there. You know what I'm saying? I think Travarius Ward is like within the top 5 or top 10 in that particular category. And Fred Warner, he's, last time I checked, I don't think he's that far behind um, in that as well. And he's a real like athletic, versatile linebacker. They can show him running with tight ends, running with wide receivers. So, you know what I'm saying? He's liable to like actually get in on some of that interception action. So, with that being said, just looking at both of these teams, both of their rosters and what they've done in the playoffs so far, um, I'm just gonna have to go ahead and go with the Kansas City Chiefs on this one. So, with Kansas City, for me, I during the regular season, I had a lot of concerns about Kansas City, and I'm pretty sure I wasn't the only one. I've heard when people were like, are they even gonna make the playoffs? And yeah, they made the playoffs. You know what I'm saying? They won a division. Mind you, the division was the AFC West. But um, what I'm saying, they still won it. You know what I'm saying? And besides that, they beat a couple of teams outside of their division to hold strong on that. So to me, it was kind of like concerning, like, you know, Mahomes finna get his first playoff game. This would be like the worst time to actually have that happen for him. Turns out, this is probably like one of his best performances. This is probably one of the team's best performances since he's been the starter for this team. You know what I'm saying? He aced his test on the first road playoff game, and then he doubles back and gets his second straight road playoff win. You know what I'm saying? So it's like all that stuff that's in the regular season doesn't even matter when it's time for business. And right now, this is business time. It's the playoffs. It's the postseason. This is your road to getting a championship, and they're driving pretty well right now. Um, if you really think about it, they act like that, whatever happened in the regular season, that they act like that was a completely different team. You know what I'm saying? You always hear the metaphor about, like, once the postseason starts, it's a whole new season, blah, blah, blah. They're kind of embodying that right now. You know what I'm saying? This team is really finding ways to win football games, not just with one person, but with everybody. You see the defense, the Chiefs defense is doing this. You see the Chiefs offense, they're finding ways to, like, win games and make big plays. Even the receivers, I mentioned Rashid Rice earlier. He had a 100-something yard game, you know what I'm saying, in those conditions. Montez Valdez scouting, hope I said that right. He had a big catch in one of, I believe, the Buffalo game, you know what I'm saying, coming out of halftime. So it's like this team is stepping up and they're finding ways to win games at the most important time. Now, don't get me wrong. 49ers, cold. You know what I'm saying? They're nice. They're tough. You know what I'm saying? On paper. And not just on paper, on the field. You know what I'm saying? They've had some impressive wins in this postseason. They've come from behind twice. You know what I'm saying? But guess what? Here's the thing. Those teams that they've had those deficits to, they can do that to those teams and get away with it. They can have an early deficit to the Green Bay Packers, whose quarterback is Jordan Love, who's under his quote unquote, this essentially his rookie year. You know what I'm saying? They can do that, to that team who has very little experience. They can get away with that with a Detroit Lions team that this group, they have very little playoff experience. You know what I'm saying? In Detroit, they acting like they, this is the Detroit, this playoff run has been the Detroit Lions Super Bowl. You know what I'm saying? Basically, until they actually get to the real one. But you know what I'm saying? And that's no shot. They've they made a lot of playoff history this postseason. But you know what I'm saying? This group that's that was on the Lions, they're relatively inexperienced. I mean, hell, they won like 3 or so games a couple years ago. You know what I'm saying? So that 49ers can get away with that against a team like that when the 49ers have been to just as many NFC conference championships as the Kansas City Chiefs have since Patrick Mahomes has been the starter. You know what I'm saying? So, but they can't get away with that against a Kansas City Chiefs team that has been to that many conference championships, that many Super Bowl appearances, you know what I'm saying, and have racked up the wins. They cannot do that against this Kansas City Chiefs team that has not been their best in the regular season, but still managed to get a division title, but come into the postseason and act like, and not even act like, play like they're the number one seed. Make you believe that they're the number one seed. So to me, it's all going to come down to the experience and the poise that the Kansas City Chiefs have and possess. Because, hell, they have Andy Reid, who's been to, he's lost, you know what I'm saying, multiple conference championships. So he knows the ins and outs of what not to do in games like these. You know what I'm saying? So that experience that he had from beforehand, combined with the experience that he has with Kansas City since he's been here, as far as like winning, it's invaluable. And he's going to have his team prepared to come out here and play. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going with the Kansas City Chiefs on this one. Um, yeah, it's going to be a close game. I'm not a big person on like predicting scores or anything, but it's going to be a close game for sure. A lot of people hope it. I feel it will be. So, yeah, that's all I got for y'all this week. You can, if you're watching this on Facebook, facebook.com/Brandon blog. Like my page, got more videos like this coming. If you're watching this on YouTube, like this video, hit the subscribe button. Leave it, hell, wherever you're watching this, leave a comment on who you think gonna win, whether it's YouTube or on Facebook. So that's all I got for y'all. I'm Brandon Simmons for BrandonSimmons.biz. Holla black.